Hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Nickerson, and I'm a director here at Old Line Government Affairs. And welcome to another edition of Online with Old Line. For this edition, I'm really excited to introduce Delegate Carl Anderton from District 38B in Wicomico County. Welcome, Delegate Anderton, and thanks for joining us today from your COVID porch.
Absolutely, yes. No, thank you. I'm out in the backyard. During the shutdown, the lockdown, whatever you want to call it. 20 years from now, if you're watching this, you'll realize that in 2020 they locked us all in our homes for months during this COVID crisis. During which, I took advantage of the cheap price of lumber and built a porch and a deck in my backyard, and that is where I'm coming to you from now. It was the Zoom porch. It's a cigar porch. It's a football game watching porch. It's everything all in one. So that's where we are. But it's very cool to be hanging out with y'all. And so what's going on?
So I am gonna, and unfortunately, I'm in a stuffy office right now. So not clear as nice, not as nice as yours. But
could you do us real quick for the viewing audience a quick favor of we have the photo collage behind you, which is very, very, it's nice. It's very nice. But we have a photo that we want to discuss that's behind the camera. Can we show that to the viewing audience as well? I think that's only fair.
Of course, I'm happy to do this. And let me preface this by saying the sole reason I have pictures on my wall right now are because Delegate Anderton shamed me into putting them up. I literally had
I don't know if I would call it
randomly hung one picture on my wall before he saw it last. And so since then, there have been pictures put up, but I'll show you the picture he's referring to.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is a picture of a much younger me and our very own Snoop Dogg.
Right on, absolutely. That's nothing but a G thing, baby. Absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely. I do too.
I'm going to give a little bit of background on you. Correct me if I get any of this wrong, please.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of go into who you are and what you do and who you represent from there.
Sure.
So Delegate Anderton was born and raised in Maryland and started his political career as the president of the Maryland Municipal League in 2013. He was then elected to the Maryland House of Delegates in 2014 and has served since then on the Environment Transportation Committee and currently serves on the Motor Vehicle and Transportation Subcommittee. He's a member of the Joint Committee on Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Byways Critical Area, Special Joint Committee on Pensions, the Complete Streets Program Regulation Work Group, and he is the chair of Wicomico County Delegation, as well as a member of both the Maryland Legislative Sportsman Caucus and the Maryland Legislative Transit Caucus. So tell me what I missed there.
So actually, my first foray into public office was in 2005.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
As a council member in my hometown of Delmar here, right in the heart, the geographical heart of the Delmarva Peninsula, but in the northern part of Wicomico County. So as a council member, I wanted to get involved. So I got on the council, wasn't able to do things that I really wanted to do. So I ran for mayor. And then was able to do some really cool things as mayor. We built a new police station, did some street reconstruction projects and things of that nature, all while lowering taxes. Found out that there were some things that I needed help from the state. And so here we are. So we ran for that. So as long if I feel like I'm not getting something from somewhere, then I'm probably going to go do that. So
it sounds like a pretty natural progression for you.
It was purely accidental and not planned in any shape, way, or form. I mean, I'm in my mid 40s. I've been married since I was right out of high school. I knew my wife for 3 months and we eloped.
Wow.
Almost 29 years later, two grown sons one with a daughter-in-law, one probably soon with a daughter-in-law. And, my wife has 2 degrees from Salisbury University. I don't have a degree from Salisbury University. I have a degree from the School of Hard Knocks, and we can talk about that later. So,
Can you describe a little bit about your district? Like
sure.
What does your district look like? What's the demographics there? What are the demographics there?
Yeah, it's actually pretty well split among all the lines of intersectionality, if you will. You know, race, gender, religion, economic, political. You know, they call it a purple district, and I guess that's why I'm the purple delegate. But it is the urban core, the geographical center of Wicomico County. You know, encompassing Salisbury University out to Purdue Stadium, and then up into the farmlands of the northern part of the county, and then down around Fruitland and the Route 13 bypass or expressway, as you may call it, on the other side of the bridge. So it's the population center of the county, and I thoroughly enjoyed. It's a lot of municipal issues because coming from municipal government, it was a natural segue, and so it's this year's been very tough. This has been the most difficult year by far. I still have 15 of my neighbors who are struggling with unemployment insurance. Most of those folks are back to work, but there was a gap there with no funding, and they would like to get caught up on their bills. And so we've been struggling with the Department of Labor. I'm sure everybody else you're speaking with has probably said something similar to that. And so that's been the bulk of our work for the past year, is connecting our neighbors with help. And we've been very successful, but I won't be relaxed until the very last person on that list has the answers they need.
Well, and I'm sure that's why you continue to represent that area, is that you care about your neighbors and
Those are my people.
You represent.
But
Absolutely.
if they struggle, I struggle. You got it. It's the only way to do it.
We actually have somebody in our office that started here not too long ago and is struggling with the very same thing. So feel your pain. So you've now been in the Maryland General Assembly for quite some time. What do you feel like your biggest accomplishment has been?
I think it's the relationships, the ability to work with anybody. When you go to Annapolis, I mean, it's easy on when you're sitting at home. I sit out here with my friends on the COVID porch, and they say Democrat this or Republican that, or, blah, 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 because you get talking points fed to you all day from,
right.
Television stations. It's not news networks anymore. It's opinion networks. And so, I think it's coming from municipal government. I never knew if my council members were Democrat or Republican. It was a non-issue. You weren't listed on the ballot as ballots by party. And so I've carried that mentality to Annapolis. So a good idea is a good idea, regardless of whose it is. A bad idea is a bad idea, regardless of who it is. And so, I think the ability to work with anybody and everybody, as long as it benefits Wicomico County, has been our biggest success. But legislatively, I mean, there've been a couple things. We just finally finished something we've been working on since 2016, and that was the full restoration of the disparity grant formula, which is a funding for counties that struggle economically. Wicomico's one. And so this brings millions of dollars to the county each year in supplemental funding. Funding I hope one day we won't need, that will grow our economy organically enough that will be in the upper echelon of income tax revenues. But until then, we're able to benefit from this. And the restoration of highway user revenues, we passed a bill that sunsets back in 2018. So now we're working on extending that further. It's very funny in Annapolis. I will say this, that it is easy to take away, but so hard to get back.
Right.
It's like loaning $20 to your friend. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That 20, but you ain't getting it back. My grandfather always told me, he said, you don't loan money, you give it away. You just
exactly.
And hopefully you get it back.
That's so very true.
Yeah. So it's, but there've been a lot of smaller bills that affect, like Evolution Craft Brewing. One of the first bills we did allowed them to double in capacity. And it's really cool when you walk in a building and you see people that are employed because of a piece of legislation you were a part of. We did a small bill to allow Harley Davidson to open on Sundays, which brought them from Delaware into Maryland. Yes, you heard that right, folks. We imported from Delaware into Maryland. Everybody says, oh, Delaware, they're the economic capital of the world. Ooh, not always. So, it's just little things like that. They just add up. But again, for me, I think the most important thing was our successes in the budget, of course, goes without saying it. But just the relationships and the ability there's not one person in the General Assembly that I couldn't walk up to. And we know who each other is. We know each other's story. And I have no problem asking them for something or them asking me, reciprocating any type of favor that benefits our districts. Because that's the whole point. I'm not up there for,
Yeah. I love that you pointed that out, because people, and I don't think Congress has helped us in this respect, but people don't realize, they see the divisive politics that are going on in DC and they think that's the way it is everywhere.
Sure.
And it has been my experience too, that the Maryland legislature is pretty collegial body that really tries to work together to get things done for the benefit.
Absolutely. There are times we go into our respective corners or whatnot, but that's called punching the clock. When you get off work, you're still friends.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it sounds like you're really passionate about the area that you're in, and that you're really passionate about bringing money and jobs, and that's great. Your constituents are lucky to have
Absolutely.
They care so much. So we've talked about your biggest accomplishment that you feel. What do you want to do next? What's your next big issue that you're working on?
Well, I think it plays right back into the restoration of how we use the revenues. That scope of money that is set up for transportation infrastructure. To make sure that the money's coming back to where it was originally intended some 90 years ago when they started the gas tax. If you're going to tax us at our local gas stations, then we need to be able to fix our local roads and infrastructure. So between that. We have a lot of budgetary priorities over the next 4 years that we're looking at in and around Salisbury, up and down the Wicomico River, expanding the Salisbury-Wicomico Airport is a priority, expanding the Riverport. Another little tidbit, the state of Maryland's second largest commercial airport outside of BWI is in Salisbury.
Really?
Waterport, based off capacity of import-export outside of the Port of Baltimore, is Salisbury. So, we have two huge economic gems that we're not fully taking advantage of. And so I think that's a goal of all of ours, is to ensure that we're maximizing that potential and getting out of the way where needed to be and stepping in to fill the gap where need to be to ensure that not only do we keep these gems, but we expand them. And, when these things were established years ago, they were meant to be, true economic pillars in the community, so to speak. It was supposed to be our heartbeat. And, we haven't quite maximized that. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
That's cool. I can imagine there's a lot of people who go to the Eastern Shore that would love to be able to fly in there instead of to
Absolutely.
BWI and making that drive over.
Yeah. Shoot me a text. I'll meet you at the airport. So
exactly. That's great.
Yeah, right on.
So we've kind of talked about this, but I wanted to delve in a little bit further about. So you said you started as a councilman, then moved to mayor, and like what kind of issues prompted you to make that, to escalate to that level of now being a General Assembly member?
I think for me, it's just the way I was raised. I come from a family of ministers, pastors, if you will. My grandfather and my dad were always the people. If somebody was broke down the side of the road, they'd pull over to help them out. It was just a real inner spirit of giving back and loving and taking care of your neighbor. And, for a while as a kid, I remember my parents would allow someone who didn't have a home to sleep in our garage. That's just, those are the things that make an impact on you as a child that you carry forward. And you're like, okay, so how can we take this to the next level? And so when I moved to Delmar in 2003 with my wife, we bought our home, I went to a council meeting and I don't remember the exact issue, but somebody was looking to do something in town. I can't remember if it was a festival or a business or something. And and they were shut down immediately, saying, "Nah, we don't do that stuff." And I was like, in my mind, I was like, "That's kind of weird. Why don't you at least listen?" And so I ran for office. I still remember the first door I knocked on. I still saved that outfit. It was a brown paisley shirt, mind you. And I did have a pair of leather Skechers. I'm not ashamed to admit. I am ashamed to admit, but I'm not. But I knocked on, and she said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. My name's Carl Anderton. I want to be your town commissioner." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "I'm not really sure." She said, "Well, son, you got to give me a better answer than that." So I went home and I thought about it and prayed on it, and and I just decided I just wanted to stand in the gap for my neighbors and just to be that person. Everybody needs someone they can rely on as best they can. And so I went back a couple weeks later, knocked on her door and said that, and she said, "You got my vote." And so we just kept going. It just took off from there, and I've been very blessed to be able to serve my neighbors. I mean, outside, I say it all the time, and people probably think it's hokey or whatever, but outside of my wife and my kids, being able to serve my neighbors is probably the highlight of my life. I bust my hump for my people, and I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I grind every day. I wake up in the morning until I go to sleep at night. It's okay. How can we connect people with services? To me, that's the most important part. You can put anybody in Annapolis to push a button, red or green, but to be willing to answer the phone on Christmas Day for somebody when they're jammed up, that's special. And I'm not saying I'm special. I'm saying that should be normal.
Agree.
And so,
Agreed.
but I feel like I just want to do for my neighbors what I would want done for me. And that's it. But anyhow.
I love it. I love the story. That's really funny. And I love the passion that you clearly have. I mean, and that's fantastic. So to wrap things up today,
Sure.
Tell me one unique thing or fun fact that you'd like for the people of Maryland to know about you.
Just one?
You can give me more than that.
Oh, sure. Well, let's see. I was a radio DJ.
Oh, how great.
2 stations here on the shore, OC 104 and 93.5 The Beach. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I did zero prep work. I would just come in, hit the mic, and just whatever came out.
So I can definitely picture that, given how our conversation's gone today. Sure, I get it. Sure. That's great. What kind of?
I had one conversation was an in-depth conversation about how every Walmart you go in. Now you think about this now. And then it's Walmart you're going to look. Every Walmart you go in, where they put the carts, it's always rough stamped concrete or bricks or something, and they do it away on purpose. We figured it out because by the time you get into the store and you realize you got the one with the wonky wheels. All the way back. You're like, forget it. I'm here now. That's why they do it. So, stuff like that. And, but one of my other jobs, I was a grave digger.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. I worked some crazy jobs when my kids were little. My wife was in college, and digging graves was one of them. And, digging six.
It seems like one end of the spectrum to the other.
Oh, yeah. We ran the gauntlet. We did it all. I mean, we did it, but there are a lot of little things. I've led a very blessed life. I'm by no means rich, but I feel like I'm extremely wealthy in just experiences and love. And I come from a very large family. Everybody's in everybody's business. There's no privacy in my family. I mean, if you did something somewhere, they're going to know, and they're going to rag you 20 years later. And, my worst critics, my harshest critics are my own family. They give me no love. I'll do an interview or something like, or on TV or whatever. It's never been, "Oh, good job." It's, "Oh, your tie was crooked," or you sound like an idiot. You point with your fingers too much. It's so it's just I enjoy life. I enjoy life, and I want everybody else to have that opportunity.